Today, we are talking about coronavirus. It is taking the world by storm. And you, as an Amazon seller, it's going to blow your business up, either in a good way or a bad way. So, let's talk a little bit about how you can start to position yourself correctly to make some money off of this chaos and grow your business. There's been a lot of speculation on coronavirus, and the situation's changing pretty rapidly. Depending on who you talk to, this is the end of the world, this is the apocalypse, or you should be much more concerned about the common flu and you got nothing to worry about. So, somewhere in between there is the answer. And that's all worth talking about in another video. This video is about your business. And from a business perspective, we don't really care about any of that. From a business perspective, we need to know what is actually happening on the ground in China. What are the facts, and how is that going to affect current and future production abilities, shipping abilities, our ability to get our inventory out of China. So let's take a quick look at what's happening on the ground so far. I'll give you a quick timeline, and then I'll also let you know how much should we actually care as Amazon and e-commerce sellers. On New Year's Eve, China alerted the World Health Organization that they had an unknown virus outbreak, and they started shutting down local seafood markets inside of Wuhan, China. From a business perspective, not much happened until the end of January. Towards the end of January, we saw China actually take the unprecedented step of quarantining multiple cities and just putting the whole city under lockdown. And this is when Amazon sellers started to become a little bit concerned. By the end of January, we saw airlines canceling flights, thousands of flights, refunding anyone who had a flight booked to China. We saw the Chinese government extend the holiday, extend the Chinese New Year by over 7 days in some areas. All of these were different efforts to keep people out of close contact. And this was happening on top of the quarantine of 50 million plus people in many different cities at this point. So at this point, we started to see shipments and productions take significant hits. Any business who gets anything from China is feeling the pressure now. Since then, all the official numbers are getting much better. We've really improved significantly, but all of the leaked videos coming out of China from their social media networks, things are not looking good over there. There seems to be a big discrepancy right now between the official story and what's actually coming out of China. I'll link to some videos below that'll show you hospitals just completely overloaded, the Chinese military pulling citizens out of their homes for forced quarantines, or just welding them inside of their home so they can't leave and they're quarantined in there. It looks like some pretty dark times, and I just can't believe that this isn't going to have any effect on production or supply chains. So the question becomes, what happens next? The truth is, nobody knows for sure. If you believe the official numbers coming out of China, then the worst is already behind us, and the virus will probably be eliminated in the next few months. Now, I personally think there's a lot of uncertainty in those official numbers. And in business, uncertainty translates to risk. So let's talk about some of the different ways you can position yourself for this new uncertainty, this new risk. And I'll show you how this could actually turn into a big opportunity for a lot of sellers. First of all, let's talk about how this is actually going to affect Amazon and e-commerce sellers. Supply chains are going to be disrupted. There's a lot of people saying this isn't going to happen. Production and shipping have already been significantly delayed and disrupted in China, and there's a growing backlog. This is going to have a significant impact on a lot of different sellers out there, so you got to keep an eye on your inventory levels. This one's going to be a little shocking, but there's a lot of Amazon sellers right now who are in touch with their factories. They're talking to their suppliers, and their suppliers are telling them, we're going to be back online in a week. We're going to ship out your inventory in 2-3 weeks. All of these factories are just trusting the government. The truth of the matter is, a lot of these factories will never ship out another item again. You have a lot of factories that were not really financially secure or stable before that can't take shutting down for a month or two. So you're going to have a lot of factories that think that they're going to be back online in a week or two that are never shipping out another piece of inventory again. Scary stuff. Now, if you don't do much business in China, you're going to think this sounds crazy because the government told me that the factories are going to be back online yesterday, right? Well, let's just look at some of these factories. Foshan was supposed to be back online yesterday. All of those factories are closed now, either until February 20th or March 1st. I've seen both dates. Guangdong. Factories in Guangdong, China were supposed to come back online yesterday. They're now closed until February 24th. Panyu, where a lot of the fabrics and textiles come from, was supposed to be open already. It is now closed until March 1st. And this is one of the big problems with this outbreak from a business perspective. Everybody's just kind of trusting the government. So when you talk to your supplier, a lot of the times they're just working off the information that they have. And a lot of them thought that they were going to be open yesterday, but weren't. When factories do reopen, there's going to be a massive backlog that has piled up and needs to be processed through. And if you're not a big seller, if you're not a huge seller, you're going to be put to the back of that queue. On top of that, 90% of all passenger airline travel to China throughout the end of March is gone. 90% of all of the airline travel. What does that mean? That means much higher short term air freight rates for you. About half of all of the air freight shipments actually happen on passenger airlines. So if 90% of the passenger airline flights are gone, that's a huge amount of air freight capacity that's gone too. So once this all comes back online, there's going to be a huge demand for shipping, trucking. Every type of shipping service is going to see an increased demand, and we're probably going to see a shortage in air freight capacity as well as trucking capacity. If things keep on going the way that they're going right now, Amazon could really quickly turn into a war of attrition. You're going to see a lot of sellers go out of stock and never get inventory in again. Being able to consistently stay in stock with quality inventory is going to become a huge advantage in the coming months. So let's talk about what you should do about this. You can position yourself now to take full advantage of the coming supply chain crises by simply going deep and stocking up on some of your best-selling inventory. Don't overbuy on products that don't have an established sales history already, but make sure you don't run out of stock on your bread and butter products, even if China shuts down for 2 or 3 months. So consider getting in touch with your suppliers now and saying, hey, I want to up the quantity on my upcoming order, and just make sure you can get that inventory out of China and stock up a little bit. That goes hand in hand with hyper communication with your supplier. It's always great to have a good relationship, but especially in a situation like now, when this backlog of production and shipping, when it finally gets processed and all of China is back online, you want to be early in that line. You want high priority. I also recommend most people start working to find a backup supplier outside of China. There's a lot of different countries that you can source from, and they're just getting better and better to source from. If you want, additional content, more videos on that, just leave a comment below, give me a like, something like that. Let me know you liked this video, and maybe one of the next videos I'll talk about how to get that production out of China and into some better countries. You can get quicker lead time, better quality, certain categories and certain keywords. Really, it makes sense to go to countries outside of China, even without coronavirus. But you need to immediately start thinking about, what's my backup here if China just goes under? Now, is that going to happen? Probably not, but it's definitely the biggest risk in my lifetime since I've been running Amazon businesses. So I just want to be safe here. I want to have a backup supplier, and I want to stock up on my best-selling inventory, because I think 2 or 3 months from now, if this thing keeps on going, this turns into a war of attrition, and the people who can keep quality inventory in stock the longest end up reaping all of the rewards from Amazon. And last thing, don't fly to China. Do not go to China until all of the travel restrictions have been removed. The last thing you want is to be quarantined and stranded in a foreign country. This is the first time we've been doing our sourcing mastermind trip out at the Canton Fair since 2014. It's like the 9th time we've done it. This is the first year we actually had to cancel the trip, refund everybody, because I don't know if we can get back out of China if we go there. So don't go to China until all the travel restrictions are lifted. There's really no upside at this point to going over there. Deepen that relationship with your supplier online. They're going to completely understand at this point. And guys, we're not just greedy capitalists. So if this video does help you make more money in the next few months with your Amazon business, consider taking a small chunk of that and donating it to a charity that's associated with coronavirus, preferably something that bypasses the Chinese government and just goes straight to the people. But there really is a humanitarian crisis going on in China right now. It is tragic to see. As someone who's been to China so often, I really hope they get through it quickly. But this video talks about, again, everything you need to do from a business perspective to position yourself correctly. Do keep in mind, after you're done with that, make sure you pay a little bit of attention to the humanitarian crisis over there too, because they might need your help. So hopefully you found this video valuable, and hopefully you're able to position yourself correctly for what may be to come down the pipeline from coronavirus. And if you think I'm crazy, or if you think I'm not crazy enough, go ahead, leave a comment. I'll be hanging out in there for the next few days. And if you're from China, I'd really like to hear from you in the comments. Let us know what's going on in your local area, your city, your province. Are people being allowed back to work yet? What's going on there? What's it look like on the ground in China? Because us in America, it's pretty tough to see what's going on there. So let us know in the comments. We'll be hanging out in there. Hopefully that helps, guys.